The holographic display illuminated Dr. Sarah Chen's face as she studied the seemingly empty sector of space before her. The Hyperion sensors showed nothing remarkable, just another patch of void between the stars. But something made her pause, her nostrils flaring slightly as she took a deep breath through the specialized atmospheric sampling port. "There's something here," she announced, drawing curious looks from her alien colleagues. The Ardani science officer, Televor, blinked all four of his eyes in sequence. A gesture Sarah had learned indicated skepticism. "Our sensors detect no anomalies, Dr. Chen," Televor said, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into smooth standard. "This sector appears identical to the last 12 we've surveyed." Sarah shook her head, her dark hair catching the light from the holographic stars. "No, there's definitely something. It's sweet, almost like caramelized sugar, but with an undertone of ozone." She adjusted the sampling rate, taking another careful breath. "And something else. Something I've never encountered before." Captain Anxelara moved closer, her crystalline form catching and refracting the starlight. Like most Lumini, she had initially been skeptical of having a human aboard her research vessel. Their technology seemed primitive compared to the other species in the Galactic Council, and their reliance on biological senses rather than advanced scanning equipment seemed almost primitive. But over the past 6 months, Sarah had proven herself invaluable in ways none of them had expected. "The last time you detected an unusual scent, we discovered the quantum filament field that would have sheared our hull apart," Anxelara acknowledged. "What do you recommend?" Sarah closed her eyes, concentrating on the complex bouquet of space, something that still amazed her alien colleagues. Humans had known since their first ventures beyond Earth's atmosphere that space had a smell, but they'd never imagined how crucial that knowledge would become to their role in the galactic community. "We should launch a probe," she said finally, opening her eyes. "But not our standard ones. I want to use one of the new models equipped with the human-designed chemical sensors." Telvor's antenna twitched, a sign of interest despite his skepticism. The new probes had been his project, combining traditional scanning technology with artificial sensors designed to mimic the human olfactory system. They were still experimental, but Sarah had insisted on bringing several prototypes aboard. As the probe launched, Sarah's nose caught something else, a sharp metallic tang that made her throat tighten. "Wait," she said urgently. "Pull it back. Now." Captain Anxelara didn't hesitate, trusting Sarah's instincts. The probe's retrieval sequence activated just as a massive shape seemed to materialize from nowhere, a sprawling structure of impossible geometries that hurt the eyes to look at directly. "By the first light," Telvor whispered, his translator barely catching the words. "What is that?" Sarah's hands flew over her console, adjusting the atmospheric sampling system. "It's some kind of cloaked installation. The sweet smell. It must be from their power source. But that metallic scent." She paused, her expression grim. "That's what we smell when our ship's defensive systems powered up. Whatever this is, it was about to attack." The bridge crew watched in amazement as the structure continued to materialize, revealing what appeared to be an ancient space station. Its surface was covered in markings that pulsed with a dim, purple light. "This is remarkable," Captain Anxelara said, her crystalline form vibrating with excitement. "None of our sensors detected it until it began decloaking." "How did you know it was here?" Sarah smiled, but her eyes remained fixed on the station. "Humans learned long ago that our noses could detect things our instruments couldn't. When we first went to space, everyone was surprised that it had a smell. Burnt metal, gunpowder, raspberries. Different regions have different scents. We just had to learn to interpret them." Telvor's antennae were practically quivering now. "But why would evolution give humans such sensitive olfactory capabilities? Your planet's atmosphere is relatively simple compared to many others." "We've been asking ourselves that same question since we joined the galactic community," Sarah replied, still monitoring the chemical composition readings. Some theorize it's because Earth has such a diverse range of organic compounds. Others think it might have been an adaptation to detect predators. But right now, I'm more interested in why this station is giving off the same chemical signatures as Earth fruits. Captain Angselera moved to the command center, her crystalline form pulsing with decision. Send a message to Galactic Council headquarters. Tell them we found something that requires immediate investigation. She turned to Sarah. Dr. Chen, I want you to head the research team. Something tells me we're going to need your unique capabilities. Sarah nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. The sweet scent was growing stronger, more complex, carrying hints of something ancient and powerful. Whatever secrets this station held, she had a feeling they were about to change their understanding of the galaxy and humanity's place in it. As she prepared for the investigation, Sarah couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humans had often felt inferior among the technologically advanced species of the galaxy, but it turned out that sometimes the most primitive of senses could reveal the greatest discoveries. The universe, it seemed, had a scent all its own, and humans were uniquely qualified to follow its fragrant trail into the unknown. The environmental suit felt clumsy compared to the sleek protective gear worn by her alien colleagues, but Sarah insisted on wearing it. Unlike their sealed systems, her suit included a specialized olfactory interface, technology reverse-engineered from the first human spacesuits that had allowed astronauts to smell the vacuum of space. Approaching Airlock Alpha, Telvor reported from behind her. The research team moved carefully across the station's external surface, magnetic boots keeping them anchored to the ancient metal. The station's purple markings pulsed beneath their feet, creating strange shadows that danced across their suits. The sweet smell is stronger here, Sarah said, adjusting her suit's sampling rate. But there's something else now. Something older. She paused, trying to identify the scent. It reminds me of old books, paper and leather, and dust. Captain Angselera's voice crackled through their comms. Our scans still show no signs of active power sources or life support. Are you certain about this entry point, Dr. Chen? Positive, Sarah replied, running her gloved hand along the airlock surface. The metal felt warm despite the vacuum of space, and the purple markings seemed to follow her touch. The concentration of organic compounds is highest here. Whatever this station is, this is where it breathes. The third member of their team, a Maladi physicist named Aria, floated closer. Her species' natural ability to perceive quantum fluctuations had made her skeptical of human intuition at first, but she'd learned to trust Sarah's nose. The quantum field structure is stable here, she sang, her natural voice translating into harmonious standard. But there's something unusual about its pattern. Sarah nodded, her attention focused on the airlock mechanism. It's like walking into an old library on Earth. You know the building is ancient, but you can smell that it's still alive with knowledge. She pressed her hand against a panel that looked slightly different from the rest of the surface. The purple markings swirled around her touch, and suddenly the airlock began to move. Impossible, Telvor chittered, his antennae pressing flat against his helmet. The station's been dormant for who knows how long. How did you? The sweet smell, Sarah interrupted, watching as the ancient door slowly opened. It's the same compound we detected earlier, but now I recognize it. It's not just similar to Earth fruits. It's identical to the sugar compounds found in human blood. A collective silence fell over the team as the implications sank in. The airlock finished cycling, revealing a dark corridor beyond. The purple markings were brighter here, pulsing in a rhythm that seemed almost familiar. Like a heartbeat, Aria sang softly. The quantum fluctuations, they matched the pattern of human neural activity. Sarah took a deep breath through her suit's sampling system. The sweet smell was overwhelming now, mixed with that ancient library scent, and something else, something that made her think of morning dew and fresh earth after rain. This station, she said slowly, I don't think it was built by any of the known species. I think it was built for humans. That's not possible, Telvor objected. Humans were planet-bound until less than 2 centuries ago. This station is clearly thousands of years old, minimum. Maybe, Sarah agreed, stepping through the airlock. Or maybe we're not the first humans to reach the stars. Maybe we just forgot. The corridor ahead was dark, but as they moved forward, sections began to illuminate with that same purple light. Sarah's nose caught new scents. Metal and stone, yes, but also earth and water, grass after rain, the sharp tang of ozone before a storm. It was like walking through a condensed sensory history of Earth. "Captain," she called back to the Hyperion, "I'm sending you our initial readings, but there's something else you should know." She paused, watching as the purple light revealed what looked like writing on the walls, symbols that seemed to shift between ancient human scripts and something far older. "The station isn't just compatible with humans," she continued. "I think it's been waiting for us. All this time, it's been preserving something. Knowledge, maybe, or history. And it used scent as a security system because it knew that only humans would be able to detect and interpret it correctly." As if in response to her words, the purple markings pulsed brighter, and new scents began to fill the corridor, complex combinations that told stories of distant stars, ancient journeys, and secrets lost to time. Sarah Chen, the human who could smell space, felt her heart race with excitement. They were about to discover something that would change everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the cosmos. Behind her, Televor and Aria exchanged glances through their helmets. They had seen many wonders in their careers as xenoscientists, but watching a human navigate through space using nothing but her nose, that was something entirely new. Perhaps they were beginning to realize humans weren't as primitive as they had once believed. Perhaps they were something else entirely. The deeper they ventured into the station, the more Sarah's specialized suit filters struggled to process the complexity of scents surrounding them. Each corridor told a different story through its unique aromatic signature, some familiar, others completely alien, yet somehow recognizable to her human senses. "The quantum field density is increasing," Aria sang, her melodic voice tight with concern. "These readings shouldn't be possible in normal space." Sarah paused at an intersection where the purple light seemed to pool like liquid on the floor. "There's something new here," she said, adjusting her suit's sampling rate again. "Something wrong." The scent reminded her of scorched metal and electricity, but underneath was something else, something that made her instincts scream danger. Telvor's scanner chirped, still no anomalies on standard frequencies, but he stopped as Sarah suddenly grabbed his arm, pulling him back against the wall. "Don't move," she whispered, her eyes fixed on the seemingly empty corridor ahead. "There's something there, something hunting." The purple markings on the walls dimmed, as if responding to her warning. In the reduced light, they could barely make out a distortion in the air, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. But Sarah could smell it clearly now, the scent of a predator, ancient and patient, with notes of ozone and decay. "The station's defensive systems," she breathed. "They're not powered down. They're active, hunting." Aria's crystalline form vibrated in harmony with something they couldn't see. "The quantum field. It's organizing itself into patterns, like neural networks, but vast, ancient." The distortion moved closer, and Sarah's nose caught a new layer of scent, something that reminded her of the moment before a lightning strike. Her mind raced, connecting pieces of a puzzle she hadn't known she was solving. "This isn't just a station," she said quietly, watching the predator thing drift past their position. "It's a test. The scents, the defenses, they're all part of a selection process, testing to see if we could detect the dangers our ancestors knew to fear." Telvor's antennae pressed flat against his helmet. "Ancestors. But humans were we?" Sarah interrupted, her eyes following the invisible hunter. "We evolved with these senses for a reason. The ability to smell space itself, to detect predators we can't see, to recognize molecular patterns that remind us of Earth." She gestured at the station around them. What if we weren't just evolving to survive on Earth? What if we were being prepared for something else? The hunter thing paused, its distortion rippling in the purple light. Sarah took a careful breath through her suit's sensors, analyzing the complex mixture of scents. There was something familiar in the pattern, something that resonated with instincts she hadn't known she possessed. It's waiting for a signal, she realized. A response. Like a password, but in scent form. Her fingers moved to her suit's external venting system. It was risky, releasing Earth atmosphere compounds into an ancient alien station. But something deep in her bones told her it was right. She cycled her suit's air, releasing a burst of human-scented atmosphere into the corridor. The reaction was immediate. The hunter thing shimmered, its distortion pattern changing. The scent of predator and ozone faded, replaced by something new, something that reminded Sarah of spring rain and fresh earth. The purple markings blazed to life, brighter than before, illuminating a doorway that hadn't been visible moments before. And with the light came a new scent, one that made Sarah's eyes widen in recognition. "It smells like home," she whispered. "Not Earth home, but older, like a memory of home we've all forgotten." As if in response, symbols began appearing on the walls, not the shifting ancient scripts they'd seen before, but clear, precise star charts. And in the center of each map was a signature of organic compounds that Sarah's nose instantly recognized. The exact chemical markers of human DNA. "Captain," she called over the comm, her voice steady despite the weight of what they were discovering. "I need you to contact Earth immediately. Tell them." She paused, watching as more star charts appeared, each one marked with that familiar human signature. "Tell them we found the breadcrumbs. The ones our ancestors left for us to follow when we were ready to come home." The hunter thing had completely transformed now, its predatory aspect dissolved into what appeared to be a guidance system, leading them toward the newly revealed doorway. The scent of home grew stronger, mixing with something else, something that spoke of vast distances and patient waiting. Behind her, Aria and Televor watched in amazement as their human colleague followed an invisible trail through space-time, guided by nothing more than the evolved sensory capabilities their species had once dismissed as primitive. They were beginning to understand that they hadn't invited humans to join galactic society out of charity or curiosity. They had invited them because, somewhere deep in the collective memory of their species, they had known that humans were the key to understanding the greatest mysteries of the cosmos. The universe had a scent, and only humans could follow its trail back to the beginning. The doorway opened into a vast chamber that seemed to breathe with purple light. Sarah's suit sensors were overwhelmed by a cascade of familiar scents. Ocean spray, mountain air, forest after rain. Every biome of Earth represented in molecular form, but subtly different, older, more primal. "The quantum signatures are stabilizing," Aria sang, her crystalline form resonating with the chamber's energy. "They're forming patterns I've never seen before, like memories encoded in space-time itself." Sarah moved forward, drawn by a new scent that made her heart race. It was similar to the sweet smell that had first led them to the station, but purer somehow, more concentrated. Her hand brushed against a crystalline console that pulsed in response to her touch. "These aren't just recordings," she said, watching as holographic displays materialized around them. "They're genetic memories. Our ancestors didn't just leave us their technology. They left us their experiences, their knowledge." Telvor moved to study one of the displays, his antennae twitching at the complex data streams. "This is impossible. The energy required to encode molecular signatures into quantum states. Unless," Sarah interrupted, her mind racing as pieces fell into place, "unless they weren't encoding them at all. They were preserving what was already there." She gestured at the chamber around them. "We've always wondered why humans have such complex olfactory capabilities compared to other Earth species, why we can smell things that shouldn't even have sense. What if those weren't random evolutionary traits?" The holographic displays shifted, showing what appeared to be ancient star maps overlaid with complex molecular structures. Sarah recognized them immediately. They were neurotransmitters, the chemical signatures of human memory and emotion. They engineered us, she breathed. Not our bodies, but our senses. They knew that someday their technology would fail, their records would be lost. But scent bypasses conscious thought. It connects directly to memory, to instinct. They built their legacy into our very DNA. A new scent filled the chamber, sharp and clean, like the air before a storm. The holographic displays converge, forming a single massive image. A galaxy spiral, but marked with paths that followed not gravitational patterns, but chemical signatures. Trails of scent through the cosmos itself. Navigation routes, Telvor realized, his scientific skepticism warring with the evidence before him. They used molecular clouds as road marks, clouds that only humans would be able to detect and interpret correctly. Sarah nodded, her fingers dancing over the crystalline console as she followed her nose through ancient star charts. Not just road marks. Messages, warnings, the sweet smell that led us here. It's a marker for safe harbors. The predator scent we encountered. It marks dangerous regions of space, places where the membrane between dimensions is thin. Aria floated closer to one of the displays, her form shimmering with excitement. The quantum patterns, they're not random at all. They're synchronized with human brainwave patterns. This entire station, it's like a library encoded in a format that only human senses could fully access. The purple light pulsed stronger, and new scents began to fill the chamber. Sarah closed her eyes, letting her enhanced olfactory capabilities process the molecular story being told. Every breath brought new understanding, new revelations about humanity's true heritage. We weren't abandoned, she said finally, opening her eyes to look at her alien colleagues. We were protected, hidden away on Earth while something terrible swept through this region of space, something that hunted by detecting advanced technology. She gestured at the predator warning markers scattered through the star charts. Our ancestors found a way to survive by going back to basics, by encoding their knowledge in forms that couldn't be detected by technological means. Telvor studied the data streams with new respect, and they modified their own genetics to ensure their descendants would be able to access that knowledge when the time was right, when it was safe to return to the stars. But why not tell us? Aria sang. Why let humanity forget its heritage, struggle through centuries of technological development? Sarah's hand rested on the console, feeling the subtle vibrations of ancient machinery beneath its crystalline surface. Because they needed to be sure we could find our way back on our own, that we could relearn to trust our most primitive senses, even in an age of advanced technology. She smiled. After all, what better way to hide something than to make everyone believe it's too simple to be important? The chamber hummed with energy as more systems came online, responding to Sarah's presence. The sweet scent grew stronger, mixing with new molecular signatures that spoke of distant stars and ancient journeys. Humanity's lost heritage was awakening, coded in scents that bypassed conscious thought and spoke directly to genes that had been waiting millennia to be activated. Captain, Sarah called over the comm, her voice filled with wonder and purpose. I think it's time to call a full council meeting. The galaxy needs to know. Humanity didn't just join the galactic community. She paused, watching as new star charts materialized, showing paths and possibilities that no one had imagined. We helped create it, and now we're ready to remember how. 3 months after the discovery of the ancient station, Sarah Chen stood before the assembled Galactic Council, surrounded by the scents of 24 different species. The chamber's air filtration system struggled to maintain balance between the various atmospheric requirements, creating an olfactory symphony that only she could fully appreciate. The data is undeniable, she concluded, gesturing to the holographic displays showing the station's star charts. Humanity's ancestors were not just spacefaring. They were pioneers in quantum molecular engineering. They found ways to encode information into the very fabric of space itself, using molecular signatures as their medium. The council chamber hummed with translated discussions. The Lumini representatives' crystalline form sparkled with skepticism. Yet you claim they chose to abandon their technology, to retreat to a single planet, and begin again. Why? Sarah activated another hologram, this one showing the predator thing they'd encountered in the station, because something was hunting them, something that could detect and track advanced technology across vast distances. Our ancestors made a choice, to survive by becoming primitive rather than face extinction. And these hunters, a Madlati counselor sang, do they still exist? We don't know, Sarah admitted. But the warning markers our ancestors left suggest they expected the threat to last for thousands of years, which is why they didn't just hide. They evolved. They engineered their descendants to have the tools we'd need when it was time to return to space. She brought up new displays showing human olfactory receptor genes compared to those of other Earth species. Our sense of smell isn't just highly developed. It's specifically tuned to detect molecular signatures that shouldn't exist in Earth's biosphere. We can smell space itself because we were designed to navigate it through chemical signatures rather than technology. The council chamber filled with the sense of excitement, concern, and curiosity from various species. Sarah had learned to interpret these chemical signals over her months of working with the ancient station's data. It was another gift from their ancestors, the ability to understand alien biochemistry through scent alone. What you're suggesting, the Ardani representative chittered, would rewrite our understanding of galactic history. If humans were among the first space-faring races, we're not claiming that, Sarah interrupted gently. What we're suggesting is that our ancestors found a different path, one that didn't rely on traditional technology. They learned to read the chemical language of the cosmos itself. She smiled. Why do you think humans were so quick to adapt to space travel? Why our primitive senses proved so useful in detecting spatial anomalies and navigating quantum filament fields? She activated the final hologram, a real-time map of the galaxy overlaid with the chemical signatures only humans could detect. Glowing paths connected distant stars, forming a complex network of safe routes and warning markers that had been invisible to conventional sensors. Our ancestors left us a map, she said softly, not just of where they went, but of where we could go. Safe harbors, dangerous regions, and, she paused, letting the anticipation build, the locations of other stations like the one we found. A network of knowledge repositories scattered throughout the galaxy, waiting for humanity to remember how to find them. The council chamber erupted in discussion, but Sarah wasn't finished. She pressed her hand to the console, releasing a specific combination of Earth atmosphere compounds into the chamber's air filtration system. The effect was subtle but immediate. Species across the chamber found themselves experiencing a moment of shared clarity, their biochemistries responding to molecular signals that bypassed conscious thought. That, she said into the sudden silence, is how our ancestors communicated across species barriers. Not through technology, but through a universal chemical language that speaks directly to the fundamentals of life itself. We didn't lose this knowledge. We carried it with us, in our genes, in our instincts, waiting for the right moment to remember. The Lumini Council President's crystalline form pulsed with decision. What are you proposing, Dr. Chen? Sarah took a deep breath, savoring the complex mix of alien scents in the chamber. A new approach to galactic exploration, one that combines our advanced technology with humanity's more primitive capabilities. The hunters our ancestors feared may still be out there, but now we have something they didn't. Allies who can help us decode the chemical library of the cosmos. She gestured to Telvor and Aria, who stood at her side. Together, we've already begun translating the station's data. There are wonders out there our ancestors wanted us to find, when we were ready, when we had friends to share them with. The sweet smell that led us to the station. It's not just a marker. It's an invitation. The chamber filled with the sense of possibility and hope. molecular signatures that transcended species barriers and spoke to something deeper, more primal. Sarah smiled, remembering that first moment when she detected the scent of raspberries and vodka in a seemingly empty nebula. Humanity hadn't just joined the galactic community. They had returned to it, carrying within them the keys to understanding the universe in ways their advanced allies had never imagined. Their primitive senses weren't a weakness to be overcome, but a gift from their ancestors, waiting for the right moment to help guide all species toward a new understanding of the cosmos. The universe, it turned out, had been speaking to them all along. They just needed to remember how to smell its stories.